All right, hello, churches of the Duck River Baptist Association. This is Matt Ledbetter, your Director of Missions, and I am here to share with you some exciting news about this new ministry that we are embarking on here at the association. We are excited to announce a partnership with Carson Newman University when it comes to training future pastors in our association for the coming years. As we know and has been talked about for a long time now, the Tennessee Baptist Convention and all through the Southern Baptist Convention, we are in a shortfall when it comes to ministers, when it comes to senior pastors, and when it comes to staff ministers. We are in a shortfall. As a matter of fact, on any given Sunday in the Tennessee Baptist Convention, there are between 350 and 400 empty pulpits, and that is that seems to be the number throughout most southern states and all throughout the convention. There is a large gap of empty pulpits as many ministers have retired. We lost a lot of pastors when it came to COVID, and so we are in a shortfall when it comes to having men surrendering to the ministry. And so we began the process, just like our Tennessee Baptist Mission Board and many others have done, when it comes to creating what is known as a pastor's pipeline. Now, the Tennessee Baptist Convention, Tennessee Baptist Mission Board is doing their part in what they are doing to work with associations and work with churches. But a lot of associations, just like the Duck River Association, is doing their part on the association level to do that as well. And so we here in the Duck River Baptist Association have created what we are calling the Shepherd's Path. We are going to begin this fall, once the executive board does their part in voting this, just like the association leadership team did recently. We are going to begin in September, August or September. We are going to do our part when it comes to training the next generation of ministers, of pastors here in the Duck River Baptist Association. As of today, as of recording this video, we have 6 empty pulpits in the Duck River Baptist Association. Now, while that may not sound like a lot, we never know that if we don't get those pulpits filled in the next little while, we could end up with more empty pulpits in the coming days. And so what we want to do is we want to do our part in training the next generation of pastors, associate pastors, youth ministers, worship ministers, children's ministers, whatever position that may be. And so we have created this thing called the Shepherd's Path, our version of the pastor's pipeline. And I'm going to be reading to you from our workbook that I have shared and been working with pastors in the association. We have met several times, and this is what we have come up with. This is our workbook, and this is our outline that we voted on with the association leadership team, sharing next month with the executive board, and then hopefully this fall be implementing this. So what is the Shepherd's Path? Well, it is a pastoral development initiative of our association in partnership with Carson Newman University. Now, let me share about Carson Newman University. Now, a few years ago, Carson Newman had kind of gone off the rails when it come to the theological end of things. But Dr. Charles Fowler came in a few years ago, and Carson Newman has gotten back on track theologically. It is now a 2000 Baptist Faith and Message campus. And many of those professors that had gotten off the rails theologically are now gone, and it is a fully conservative university. They have even made the break from using First Baptist Jefferson City for their weekly chapel services. They are now doing chapel services on campus instead of using First Baptist Jefferson City. And so it is a fully conservative university, so we have no problem with partnering with Carson Newman University. You can check that out for yourself. As a matter of fact, myself, Herb Hester, and Jason Heath went down just a little over a month ago and met with Dr. Fowler and Dr. Aiken and worked through this plan with their part and with our part. And I'm telling you, we were absolutely blown away with what the Lord has done at Carson Newman. So this is going to be a development initiative in partnership with them. So it's going to be a 3-stage, 2-part certificate-based pastoral development program designed to identify, mentor, and equip men who sense God's call to pastoral ministry. And it'll take approximately 2 years to complete. Now, this is going to be overseen and administered through the DRBA Director of Missions, which is me. We're going to have an advisory panel of about 3 people. You're going to have an oversight, of course, by the executive board. And while the theological and biblical academic components of the program will be provided through Carson Newman, they're going to take care of the education end of things. The partnership of mentorship and things like that will be done through us. And the professional study certificate that they received on the education end of things will come through Carson Newman University and the Sager Center for Preaching and Pastoral Ministry. Now, they are doing this through select associations. Now, there are a couple of other associations that are doing this as a pilot program for them as well. And so we are one of those pilot associations that they have chosen to do this with. Now, the goal of the Shepherd's Path is to identify and develop faithful men called by God into pastoral ministry by providing intentional mentorship, biblical training, theological education, and practical ministry experience within the context of the local church. The Shepherd's Path will provide a clear and intentional pathway for men who are discerning God's call to pastoral ministry, and it combines mentorship from experienced pastors within the association, ministry experience within cooperating churches, and theological education through Carson Newman University. Now, our overall key scripture is found in 2 Timothy 2:2. And it says, "The things that you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit these things to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." Aged men teaching men who will eventually teach other men. It is keeping that pipeline going on down the road so that pulpits will be filled by pulpits who will be filled by pulpits for years to come. So let's talk about the 3 stages of how this will take place. First of all, let's talk about stage 1. This is the calling discernment. Now, this will be an hours-based thing. It won't be a set time frame for this. It'll kind of be a fluid thing. But stage 1 focuses on helping participants prayerfully discern, confirm, and clarify God's call to pastoral ministry. During this stage, participants will be mentored by experienced pastors within the association and will be encouraged to develop spiritual disciplines, ministry development and awareness, and leadership character. This stage will take place primarily through the participants' local church context and through ministerial mentoring relationships within the association. Participants will explore responsibilities of pastoral ministry. They'll receive ministry service opportunities and begin developing foundational skills in Bible study, prayer, teaching, and leadership. Included in stage 1 will be formal in-person courses that will take place here at the associational building. Classes taught by experienced pastors in vital areas, including mentorship we've talked about, but worship, church growth, life, family, leadership, as well as maintaining spiritual balance in one's ministerial calling. We want to do things like help them understand the context of things like deacons meetings and leading business meetings. You know, a lot of guys walk into their first church never having led a business meeting, never having sat in a deacons meeting. They've never administered the Lord's Supper. They've never performed a baptism. So these are the things, this is the context that we are hoping to teach these men that sometimes they never get that opportunity to do. And so that's what this first stage, this calling discernment and mentorship and preparation is going to help them do. Stage one does not include formal coursework through Carson Newman. We'll do that in stage two. Stage one serves as the preparation phase. Helps participants establish a strong spiritual and ministry foundation before entering the academic portion of the program. Now, stage one has a dual entry track. This dual track entry point based on one's personal level of ministry. If a man is already serving as a pastor or an associate pastor, he would have a track that focuses more on mentorship rather than developing his calling. If a man is new to his calling, he would focus more on developing spiritual disciplines and exploring his calling along with mentorship. Now, ministry students must complete a number of hours in stage one, and we're working on that process now on what that will look like. In order to be considered to move on to stage two for the academic portion of things, they have to complete a set number of hours, a set number of steps in order to advance. Now, if they're already serving in a ministry position, their mentor, their pastor would have to sign off in order for them to move on. There's a pastoral qualifications list for prospective students that will be given to them and agreed upon by the applicant's church. We want to make sure that the church is standing behind them. We want to make sure that their pastor, if they are not already serving as a pastor, is standing behind them. We want to make sure they are qualified. We want to make sure there's nothing in their background. We want to make sure there is nothing that is keeping them from pursuing God's call and God's purpose in their life. There also must be buy-in from our churches and from our pastors. There has to be commitment for mentorship. Yes, we want the pastor of these men who are going to be the prospective students. We want those pastors to be committed, but we need other men, other pastors to say, yes, I will step up. I'm putting my yes on the table to be a mentor. I'm putting my yes on the table to be a teacher for this first stage one preparatory classes. I'm putting my yes on the table to be a prospective professor, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. We need buy-in from the churches for ministry placement for prospective ministers. And then we also need buy-in for prospective ministers to say, yes, I need this in my life as I pursue God's calling in my life to be prepared when I step into that ministry position. And then this dual mentorship, students being mentored by their pastor and one other senior leader in the association, whether that's just their pastor and another associate pastor in their church or another pastor in their community or in the association, or whether that's me. I've already put my yes on the table to be a mentor for one or two of these men who are going to be prospective students in this initiative. And then part of the student ministry requirement would be serving in the various ministries of their church. They're not just going to be a member of their church. We are going to require that they serve in the various ministries of their church. We want them to serve in the nursery. We want them to serve in children's ministry. We want them to serve in youth ministry. We want them to serve in the various areas of their church. We want them to get a taste of what it means to serve in the various places throughout their church. And so we're going to be asking their pastors and their mentors to make sure that they do that. That's stage one. That's the preparatory phase. That's where we are teaching them the ins and outs of being a pastor. I appreciate what my pastor did for me when I surrendered to the ministry. My pastor mentored me, and he shared with me, and he taught me the ins and outs of being a pastor. And I had a pastor prep class in the Bible college that I attended, Fruitland Baptist Bible College, which was taught by men who were serving as pastors. And in one of those classes that I had for two of those semesters, we had a pastor's class where they taught us about visitation. They actually took us to funeral homes and they took us to nursing homes. And we had a class where we were teamed up for pastoral mentorship. And so that's what we will be doing in these classes. That's stage one. Once they have fulfilled their obligation in stage one with an appropriate set of hours and mentorship, then we will move them into stage two, which is the pastoral formation of education. And this is where the partnership with Carson Newman comes in. This begins the theological and biblical education portion of the certificate program through the Sager Center for Pastor Education or Pastor Partnership. In this stage, Carson Newman University will provide academic leadership, course requirements, theological instruction, and learning resources that form the education core of the program. Participants will engage in structured biblical and theological study while continuing to receive their mentorship and ministry experience through the association and their participating churches. Theological training during this stage will include areas such as biblical interpretation, systematic theology, pastoral ministry, preaching, church leadership, evangelism, and disciple making. Carson Newman will provide the academic framework, the course materials, instructional guidance necessary for the completion of the certificate requirements. Throughout this stage, participants will continue serving within their local church ministry so that academic learning is reinforced through real ministry experience and pastoral mentorship. The local academic program will meet either here at the building or, if we need to, at a location that can be determined later. I will serve as the program director, and I will be the point of contact between the Duck River Association through what's taking place here and Carson Newman University. I'll be the liaison between here, our program, and Dr. Aiken at Carson Newman University. Now, the courses, even though the education portion, the instruction materials will be coming from Carson Newman, it will be taught and administered by pastors in the association who hold a master's level or higher degree from accredited seminaries that are applicable to the courses with which they are tasked or assigned to teach. These prospective professors, they will be called adjunct professors for Carson Newman. They will apply for these positions and will be selected by myself and Dr. Aiken at Carson Newman University. He is called the Vice President for Church Relation and Campus Ministries. Prospective professors should be actively involved in the life and ministry of the association, and their churches should be financially supporting the mission and ministries of the association. And so when we start the education portion, the education teaching part of this program, we're going to ask men to submit their resumes, and then the final selection of professors will eventually be made by Dr. Aiken. Now, the courses offered through Carson Newman University, and this is the price point of things, is absolutely very economical. It is $150 per semester. And by the way, the courses here are not just ho-hum courses. They are transferable courses. They are Carson Newman University courses. And once they complete these courses, they get a certificate, but they are applicable to finish the associate's degree through Carson Newman. If they want to continue on, they can finish their associate's degree, go on to finish their bachelor's degree, master's degree. All of these courses are able to be used and moved forward through their own degrees forward. And these courses are $150 per semester hour or $450 per course. To complete a certificate is $1,800 plus the cost of the books. It is very economical. They don't have to travel to Carson Newman. It is not online. Everything is taught in person right here or at a place to be determined. So they don't have to travel anywhere. They don't have to have a computer to listen to a lecture online. It will be taught right here in their own home area by people they know. $150 per credit hour, $450 per course. Man, can't beat that. And so when they finish their two courses, their two certificates, then they get to move on to that next phase. But how awesome is it they get to be taught by people they know, people they trust right here in the association, fully accredited, and those courses can be used and moved forward to finish an associate's degree at Carson Newman or to any university they want to move those to. Fully accredited courses. Carson Newman is doing a great job in preparing the next generation of pastors. And we are so thankful that they have offered this to the Duck River Baptist Association. I'm so thankful that Dr. Fowler and Dr. Aiken have reached out to us and said, we want you to be a part of this. So that's the theological education part. Now we're still working on a lot of the details, but now all of the application part and the monetary part of all of those things, financial aid and all that, that's all going to be handled through Carson Newman. We don't handle any of that. They will apply, do financial aid and all of that through Carson Newman. We're just going to have the professors teaching the courses. Now, here's what we're going to ask of the churches. In order to hold these men accountable, we're going to ask the churches to pay a portion or all of those courses, because we want the churches to hold these men accountable to make sure they complete these courses, that they do their very best in order to complete these certificate courses and move on through these steps. We want these men to give their very best, and we want these men to know that their churches, their pastors, and that this association is standing behind them 100%. That's stage 2. Stage 1 is the mentorship and the nuts and bolts of what it means to be a pastor. Stage 2 is the education portion, along with continued mentorship. And then stage 3 is ministry deployment. The final stage of the shepherd's path focuses on ministry deployment. This stage prepares participants to transition from training to active ministry leadership within churches and ministry settings, unless they're already serving in a position. Participants will receive expanded preaching opportunities, leadership responsibilities within church ministries, and continued pastoral mentoring as they prepare for pastoral placement or ministry leadership roles. What we want is buy-in from the churches. We want our churches to say, we've got an empty pulpit. We want to consider one of these men as our pastor. Or we have an empty pulpit for a Sunday. We want one of these men to come and preach in our pulpit. We have an empty children's position. We have an empty youth pastor position. We want to consider one of these men for those positions. That's where the buy-in really comes in for our churches. Now, during this stage, during ministry deployment, the Duck River Association will assist in helping participants connect with ministry opportunities, church leadership roles, pulpit supply, pastoral service positions where they can faithfully serve and shepherd God's people. Our hope, our desire, our goal is to keep men right here in our association. Now, we're not trying to tie God's hands. We're not trying to say, God, we don't want you to move them anywhere. But we hopefully want to keep these men right here, serving right here. We understand that when men are called where they already live, possibly where they already serve, churches grow and thrive, and it's more apt that men will stay where they are longer, years longer. Let me put it that way. They stay years longer if they're already serving in a familiar place, at home in an area where they already know. I told a pulpit committee recently when I was talking with them, if you call a man that his family is nearby, he's got a fishing hole nearby, he's got a hunting stand nearby, mom and daddy and grandma and grandpa nearby, he is more likely to stay longer at your church. That's a selling point for me because I believe that. I honestly believe that is true. If we train these guys, I'm hoping that churches will see that these guys have completed these stages. They've put in the work, and our associational churches will see that these men are prepared to step in to be pastors and servants in these local churches. Stage 3 represents the culmination of this 2-year development process and serves as the transition point from preparation to active pastoral ministry. Once again, this is where buy-in from the churches is crucial. For the shepherd's path to be a success, and for the men that are putting in the time and the effort to complete the course, churches must be willing to put their yes on the table and consider these men for ministry positions in their churches. We're also asking DRBA churches to allow these men, as I've already said, to fill in as guest speakers, serve as interns, possibly even as interim pastors. We're also asking pastors to consider looking at these men as possible succession candidates when you prepare to retire. That's becoming a thing now. Instead of churches having to go years without a pastor, when a man is getting ready to retire, to already have someone come in as a succession plan to say, when I step out this Sunday, there's already a man that is ready to step in next Sunday. And that succession plan is in place. This is a good place to start. So that is ministry succession. That is our ministry proposal that we are looking at here in the Duck River Baptist Association. Shepherd's Path. Our pastoral development initiative. Our pastor pipeline. We are excited about this step. Now, this is our pilot program. Now, this is what we need. Let's kind of just bring this all together into a nice ball of yarn here. What are we needing? We are needing candidates for this program. You may have men in your church that have surrendered to the ministry. They are just beginning that initial step. They may just have recently announced their call. We need some buy-in from you and from those men. Maybe there's some men that have announced their call a while back, and maybe they've already received some theological education, or they're already receiving theological education, and maybe those certificate programs are not necessarily appealing to them, but the mentorship part is. The pastoral training part is important to them. This is still a fit for them. We need buy-in from the churches. We need some churches to step up and say, yes, we believe in this. We're standing behind this 100%. We're going to pray for it. We're going to believe in it. And we're going to trust that God is going to do great things for our association for years to come through the Shepherd's Path, through this pastor pipeline. And we need pastors. We need pastors to step up and say, I'll be a mentor. Pastors to step up and say, I'll be a professor. We need pastors to step up and say, I'll do whatever I can to be a part of this pipeline, of this Shepherd's Path program, so that it'll be a success, so that churches will not go years without pastors, so that we can fill pulpits, so that churches will not go such a long time without having a shepherd to guide and lead those churches. We need to be on task. We need to be on guard. We need to be ready to train up this next generation of pastors and leaders right here where we are. And I believe this is a good way for us to do it. The Shepherd's Path. So we're going to be voting on this for final approval at the executive board in May. And hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll deploy this thing, the pilot program, sometime in August or September, get this thing off the ground. And depending on Carson Newman's timeline, hopefully the theological education part of it will begin in January. If not January, then we'll begin their fall semester next year in August. Once again, that depends on their timeline. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I hope you're praying for this. And if you've got any questions about this, feel free to give me a shout. If you need me to email you a copy of this, just what I've been talking about, that's what I've been reading from, I'll be happy to email this to you. And so you can have this workbook, this plan, a hard copy of it for your own. So until next time, God bless you. Thank you for giving me time today to listen to this. And just looking forward to what God's got in store for us here at Duck River Baptist Association. God bless you, and we'll see you on down the road.